Spacewalk.
We'll have you at Stanchion Alpha, Woody.
Okay, Alpha, thanks.
NASA astronauts Steve Bowen and Woody Hoberg.
Otherwise, so I go back. Yeah.
Continue to be ahead of the timeline. The solar array installation steps are complete. The team is waiting on the beginning of a working eclipse to begin the power connector mates. While they wait, the astronauts are getting ahead on some cleanup steps. These suits continue to perform well. We expect no suit constraints on today's operations.
All right, Steve, we see you back at the mounting bracket. For you, we don't have much to do while Woody does these FSE beam ops, but we would like you to check and replace the MLI, which is on the mounting bracket. I have 3 locations for you to do that when you're ready to copy.
Okay, ready to copy.
We want you to check the right lower strut, left lower strut, and right mid strut MLI.
NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg has successfully completed a work-ahead step of stowing his portable foot restraint unit onto a cart. He is now headed to the flight support equipment area where he will be stowing a beam.
That one's off the pole.
Copy, Steve.
That one's better. It's on the bolt now. Ground looks like it's in.
Copy, Steve.
Look. Do you have video?
We do have video. Affirm.
Okay, that should look a lot better than it did.
It does, thank you.
Is there something lower on the lower strut, or just it on the right lower?
Checking.
This is a view of NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg. He is EV1 today, and that is designated by the red stripe on his spacesuit.
Okay, right mid-strut, the mounting brake. I'm back. Any in place at Alpha?
Copy. Woody, you are going to have to relocate the adjustable equipment tether from the lower stanchion of the FSE handrail to the top stanchion of the FSE handrail, and we'll also need to socket swap before we start bolt ups.
Copy.
When the astronauts are conducting spacewalks, they have 2 tethers.
Woody, a reminder for you, when you're on the FSE, no sudden movements, quick grabs, or sudden stops, and we'll wait till FSE motion dampens out before imparting any loads.
Copy. Adjustable swapped, socket swap and work.
Copy.
from that one. I think I did better there.
Copy, Steve.
Okay, Jenny, socket swapped with a good pull test. That would look a lot better. Is that all right, Jenny? Or do you want me to go back and get more?
Copy, Steve. We're checking, and I copy the good pull test for Woody. Woody, you can hand start C3, one turn.
C3, one turn, hand start. Work. Just that there a little bit more. I think I might have to loosen the adjustable on the other side to allow that. Let me see.
We copy, Woody. We might have to head over there to do that. That's okay. And
Yeah, I think so.
all right, we copy. Steve, next for you is to check the MLI on the left lower strut to the mounting bracket. The other ones look good. Great job.
Right. Off the lower at the mounting bracket.
Good words.
Yeah, I probably did that today.
I have an updated PET for both of you. We are 3 hours into this EVA. Our limiting consumable is Woody's battery, and we're tracking toward 7 hours and 30 minutes in total. We are way ahead of the timeline as you guys are doing cleanup get-aheads. We have still just over 30 minutes to our working eclipse, so lots of time to get these done.
Thanks so much for the update, James. We appreciate it.
You guys
Ditto.
doing a great job.
Jenny City Gibbons from Mission Control Houston, the Spacewalk communicator today for the crew, just gave an update on our timeline. We have just reached 3 hours in the spacewalk, and we are running well ahead of schedule. The crew is currently working on some get-ahead tasks. Right now, we are waiting in about 30 minutes for an eclipse to start.
Okay, I got 2, maybe 3 turns of hand start on C3.
Copy. 2 to 3 turns hand started on C3. You can translate to stanchion Bravo. We'll be relocating that adjustable equipment tether from the lower to the upper stanchion like you did at stanchion Alpha.
I already completed that actually, James. I had to go do that in order to give myself enough slack.
Okay, copy. Great work. Standby 1. And Woody, did you hand start C5 as well while you were over there?
I did not.
Okay.
That's C3.
We need to hand start.
C5 is, okay.
Hey, firm, we need to hand start both bolts before we drive any of them.
Okay, head in the back.
NASA astronaut Steve Bowen is at the work site. He is closing up some MLI, or multi-layer insulation.
All right, Jenny, I hope that MLI is a little bit better there at the
Copy, Steve. That looks really good.
corner.
This MLI is on the mounting bracket. With Steve Bowen complete on his get-ahead task, NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg is still working on...
Copy 2 to 3 turns on C5. You can get your PGT ready. We'll be driving C5 first, and you'll be at a setting of Bravo 7.
He is attaching a beam.
Clockwise 2 set.
Copy.
And you did say C5, right, Jan?
A-firm, you can start at C5, the bolt that you just hand started, but I want to tell you, this is important, that the bolts must be stopped on turn count, and since you hand started this 2 to 3 turns, we want 18 turns only.
Okay. 18 only on C5, I copy. You ready for me to start those turns?
A-firm, your go.
Thanks, Jan. Starting turns.
And Steve, for you, we have no other get-aheads, so you will be just getting in a good position to get the best views possible for the next 20-ish minutes while we get in position for the working eclipse.
Sounds good to me. Maybe a first.
While NASA astronaut Steve Bowen hangs out at the work site while we are waiting on that eclipse to start, NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg is securing a beam to the flight support equipment area.
Copy 17 turns on C5.
He is utilizing a PGT or pistol grip tool to secure those bolts in place.
And it felt pretty torquey to me. I did not torque out, but I could tell there was significant torque.
That sounds good to us. You can stow your PGT and retrieve the adjustable equipment tether.
Work.
The pistol grip tool is essentially a space drill. It is used to apply torque to those bolts.
Okay, Johnny, heading back to C3.
Copy. Woody, your settings here for driving C3 are the same. Bravo 7, clockwise 2.
Bravo 7, clockwise 2 is set. 17 turns, no more.
Let's do 18 turns, 1-8. Woody.
Okay. 18 turns. Sounds good. All right, just because I'm hanging out here. Where are we?
Steve, Woody is almost finished up at the FSE. And you should be passing.
Where in the world are we?
You should be passing just over the northwestern edge of Africa right now.
Okay, thank you. Good jams, 18 turns on C3.
Copy 18 turns on C3. That's a good bolt. You can retrieve your adjustable equipment tether stowed on your mini workstation, and then we'll have you pick up crew lock bag T.
Okay, got the adjustable going to get T, thanks.
Woody has successfully installed that beam on the flight support equipment area, and he is now headed to retrieve a tool bag.
And Woody, your preference here, you can stow those adjustables that you just picked up on the outside of crew lock bag T, and then we will have that on your BRT. You can keep them on your mini workstation if you prefer that.
Gotcha.
He also has some adjustable equipment tethers or straps that he is also going to attach to the tool bag he is picking up.
I'll keep one and drop one.
Copy.
You can see a view of that tool bag right now with NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg. He just attached one of those equipment tethers to it.
And Woody, additional words for you. We would like that wire tie, which is on the tower handrail, to stay with the bag.
Copy. Pick up the wire tie.
Good words.
This is yet another get-ahead task. We are a little over 20 minutes from our eclipse where we can start mating the cables on the solar array. These solar arrays cannot be powered off, so that's why we have to plug them in during an eclipse, so that there is no power running through the solar array when the astronauts go to actually connect those cables.
Woody, that was your last action on the FSE. You can stow crew lock bag T on the port seater cart.
Go T on the port seater cart. Copy. Thanks, Jan.
NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg is now going to move that tool bag over to the cart, and then he will make his way back to the solar array installation station.
A good safety tether configure. Stand by one.
Take your time. We still have 20 minutes to our working eclipse start.
All right, Jenny, confirm you said port seater cart?
Affirm.
Okay. Thank you.
He is heading to the cart on the port side. CETA stands for the Crew and Equipment Translation Aid. That orbital night time is less than 20 minutes away, It occurs when the Earth is shadowing the International Space Station. The International Space Station orbits the Earth every 90 minutes. 45 of those are in sunlight and 45 are in dark. This is live helmet camera footage from NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg. This is his second spacewalk. Today he is installing the solar array on the 1B power channel. On June 9th, he worked with NASA astronaut Steve Bowen to install another solar array at the 1A power channel. The crew exited the airlock this morning. They switched to battery power prior to that, with our official spacewalk start time of 8:42 a.m. Eastern Time, 7:42 a.m. Central Time.
Copy. Crew lock bag T stowed on the port CETA cart. We're going to take this opportunity before you start translating to do another socket swap, such that we have the 6-inch that's currently on your mini workstation on your PGT, and the remaining socket, the 2-inch, should be in your trash bag.
Copy that, and work.
NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg is going to be doing a socket swap. He needs a different size socket for these upcoming tasks on the solar array. PGT is that pistol grip tool or that drill that he will be using.
Socket swap with a good pull test, James.
Copy. Good pull test on the socket swap.
The space station is currently flying 257 statute miles over Nigeria.
Woody, verify your gauntlets are down.
Gauntlets down.
Copy. You are translating back out to S6. On the way, drop your green hook on S5 handrail 2140. That's the same place where you picked it up.
The gauntlet is that covering of material just above his glove.
2140.
Good words. And we have about 15 minutes until our working eclipse starts.
Great. That time of year where day is longer than night. That is there, not here.
NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg is now heading
Woody,
back.
stand by.
Is now heading back to the workstation for the solar array.
So in the other direction.
Sorry, James. Oh boy.
Do not worry about it.
Oh boy.
You're in great shape. We got plenty of time. It's good practice.
Thought I could tag the E6. You know, why not?
Yeah, well, you're here.
It only take another minute or two.
Yeah, if it wasn't clear, don't actually do that. We want you going to S6.
I'm already headed that way.
We see it.
You don't need seat car brakes yet, do you?
No.
Okay, great.
NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg is translating the sides of the International Space Station, heading back to the workstation where the International Space Station Roll-Out Solar Array is awaiting for its cables to be mated during our upcoming solar eclipse, starting in about 12 minutes.
Okay, and James, just confirming, 2140, I'm expecting that outboard of the Sarge, which I just crossed, gauntlets down.
A-firm, it should be on S5, and it's on the second A-frame that you encounter.
The mirror you're seeing on his right arm is used for him to be able to look at the controls on his spacesuit. Because he's in the helmet, he can't look down physically, so the astronauts utilize these mirrors in order to see on their chest. Because of that mirror, those controls are backwards on the spacesuit if you were just to look at them straight on.
All right, I'm at 2117 on with 5, now 2128.
He is confirming his...
With 11.
You've just passed the first A-frame. The handrail's on the second A-frame.
Okay.
He is confirming his location to flight control team members here in Mission Control. They know the location of all of these different grab bars for the astronauts to use to get around the International Space Station.
Oh, it is, okay, it is right by with 11. Got it.
A-firm, it should be...
It's hidden on the backside.
Should be near your right hand.
Yep, it's here.
As Woody moves from area to area, he relocates his tethers. He has both a safety tether and also an additional local tether.
Okay, Johnny, green hook's on 2140.
He is confirming where he has placed his tether.
Copy, Woody. That's a good config. You can translate outboard to the mod kit.
Good work.
A beautiful view of the Earth below. The space station is currently flying over Angola in Africa.
Woody, as you continue your translation outboard, you're a straight shot for this translation, but if you can get eyes on Steve's tether, make sure that it's still fair lead around the perimeter of S6. We'd appreciate it.
That's in my field of view, and it is. It's fair lead. It looks beautiful. So up until it gets to me, I got to do the corner again when you get this. Oh, you want to get that corner again? Well, when you get me straightened out, because I think it's coming on my back. Okay. Yeah, I see that.
S6 is the starboard 6 truss. This is where we are installing the solar array today.
Backside of this APFR again for fair leading.
Copy, Woody, we agree.
APFR is the adjustable portable foot restraint.
And
Articulating
Woody, you
foot
can reinstall
restraint.
your rich man's fair lead for your tether as well, if you need to keep it clear.
The APFR does essentially the same thing. If you guys are good with that.
Copy, Woody, we're fine with that.
Okay. Thanks so much.
And you can see NASA astronaut Steve Bowen coming into view on NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg's helmet cam.
You can see that somehow my tether, my safety tether, and my keyring extender ended up where I expected it to be. Okay, coming in to take a look. Going low. I can get a 5 speed.
There are a couple of cables that the crew can work on pre-eclipse. They are the J cables. You will hear call-outs for those coming up.
Take care of the fair lead. Thanks a lot. Absolutely.
And we are about 6 minutes out from that working eclipse.
That's fine. Just put it on the corner. Oh, man. Let you do it just to keep our, yeah, that way we won't cross again. Yeah.
Woody and Steve, now that we are both in position at the mod kit, I have big picture words for both of you.
Sounds great, James.
We are 6 minutes from our working eclipse time and 6 minutes from a data LOS. We'll have voice for all but the last 2 minutes of that 8-minute data LOS. Depending where we are in the procedure, we'll treat that potentially like a handover. If not, I'll be very clear if I'm handing off to Frank. We will, before we go LOS for data, do our best to confirm safing from the ground, but if we need to, we'll loop in onboard IV to do that for us.
Copy, James. Great overview. And I copy as well.
All right, so with that, we can have Woody translate to the right blanket box, and Steve, you can get in position to the left blanket box. We will have you demate the new cable wing tab connectors, which are on the mid-strut, from one another.
Copy.
They are going to be unconnecting these first sets of cables. Words also from Mission Control Houston that even with our upcoming expected loss of signal, the team is still going to be working.
You should see P7 alpha and J7 alpha and P21 alpha, J21 alpha.
On board, they have NASA astronaut Frank Rubio as their support.
I do. I see J7 Alpha and T7. And where's the other connector? There it is.
Copy, Steve. You have the right connectors. Woody, you should have
And Jams, I'm demating. Go ahead.
P9 alpha, J9 alpha, and P23 alpha, J23 alpha.
That's what I've got.
You can see the lighting begin to change as we head into that eclipse. We are about 3 minutes away from that orbital nighttime. This is the 8th spacewalk out of the International Space Station this year in support of its assembly, maintenance, and upgrades. And this is the 6th International Space Station Roll-Out Solar Array to be installed on the station. On June 9th, this exact team worked to install the solar array on the opposite side of the station. The solar array installed on June 9th and the one being installed today were delivered on the SpaceX Cargo Resupply Service mission, number 28, on June 5th.
Hi, Jenny. My cables are demated and I'm in position.
Copy, Woody.
All right, I'm still working on it. Got to get that wire tied up.
Copy, Steve.
And James, I've got a ret to that cap that we're going to be demating eventually.
Copy,
okay,
Woody.
My cables are disconnected. To make some sliding movement here to get some clearance on the panel connectors. Okay. Giving a good config.
Copy. We are about a minute from our 8-minute data LOS. Again, we have voice in all but the last 2 minutes. I'm Prime IV, and we have just over a minute to our working eclipse start. Warning, you must not demate SAW connectors until eclipse plus 2 minutes. I'll tell you when that is, and you must maintain a 1-foot keep-out zone from any demated connectors starting 2 minutes prior to and during installation. We should not be in that situation, but again, I will give you warning if we are.
Copy, James. Copy.
We are waiting for our working eclipse to start in about 30 seconds and then safing. So stand by.
These cables you are seeing on your screen are ones that cannot be mated until we are in that working eclipse. Again, this is a safety measure to give all the arrays enough time to discharge power while the astronauts are handling electrical cables. Just as we've entered that working eclipse, our video data stream is being handed over to satellites, but we do still have audio connection with the astronauts outside. Brandon Lloyd is the flight director here in the room. He had the final call on all of these work ahead items that the astronauts completed today because they have been so efficient and working ahead of schedule. Today's EVA or Spacewalk is 1 day shy of the 2-year anniversary of the first IROSA or International Space Station Roll-Out Solar Array. That first installation was on June 16th of 2021, and here we are about 2 years later completing that 6th solar array installation. With this spacewalk, we will have installed 6 International Space Station Roll-Out Solar Arrays onto the space station. We are expecting a 30% increase in power output. These new solar arrays are rolled out in front of the legacy arrays, but the legacy arrays will continue to produce power as well. Each of the new arrays are about half the size, but thanks to advances in technology, they are much more powerful. This new setup with IROSA and the legacy arrays will increase that power production capabilities to a combined total of more than 250 kilowatts. For comparison, the average American home uses around 2 kilowatts at any given time, and the space station currently consumes about 75 to 90 kilowatts. This is the 6th International Space Station Roll-Out Solar Array to be installed. However, NASA and Boeing have a plan in place for a 4th set of roll-out arrays to further augment the International Space Station's power supply. These arrays, which would be the 7th and 8th to be installed on the space station, are targeted to be delivered in the 2025 timeframe. So until then, the space station will be running with these 6 IROSA combined with those legacy solar arrays. A recap of where we are at in the spacewalk during this expected loss of signal as our data is transferred between satellites. Our spacewalk started this morning at 8:42 a.m. Eastern Time, 7:42 a.m. Central Time. NASA astronauts Woody Hoberg and Steve Bowen exited the airlock. They released the solar array from its flight support equipment area and relocated it to its current work site at the 1B power supply. This is on the starboard 6 truss. On board Emirati Space Agency astronaut Sultan Al Nayati controlled a robotic arm that carried NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg and the IROSA over to the starboard 6 truss area. The robotic arm was not long enough to reach exactly where they needed to be, so together NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg and NASA astronaut Steve Bowen conducted a leapfrog maneuver, passing the solar array between themselves to reach its final work site. The team worked very efficiently and was ahead of schedule, so the flight control team here that you are seeing a live view of made the decision for the team to conduct some work ahead cleanup activities that were on their schedule to be done after the solar array installation. With a couple of those items completed, then we have entered into our orbital nighttime, where the astronauts are now able to safely mate the cables and connect the solar array to the space station's power supply.
Houston's back with you on 1.
Hi, Jenny.
Hey, Woody, we'll take a status from you.
We are standing by, awaiting further instructions.
All right.
We have not started.
All right, copy, no problem. We have plenty of time left in our working eclipse. We have just over 20 minutes. That was an unexpected voice LOS. The team's looking into it. In the meantime, I can confirm safing is in place, so let's get started. Woody, you can either start with the cap to P23 or the saw cable P9. We need one of those disconnected from the panel. Let me know which you choose from. And likewise, for Steve, we're looking at P7 or P21.
P7's in order for Steve. Saw cable P9 demated.
Copy, Woody, P9 demated from panel P9.
Each of the cables have different numbers.
Connect P9 alpha to panel P9. I'll take your checks.
Copy, P9 alpha.
The Spacewalk communicator here in Mission Control Houston is instructing the astronauts on which cable to attach where in the panel. Jenny Seide-Gibbons is the...
No fog, no bent pins.
She's there in the black shirt. She is also a Canadian Space Agency astronaut.
To connect our hard stop.
Copy.
Together, she is working with Spacewalk.
Estimated to connect hard stop.
Spacewalk officers.
Copy, Woody. Mate J9 alpha to saw cable P9.
Who are tracking their procedures.
J9 alpha to saw cable P9.
I'll take your checks.
Megan Shutika is the lead spacewalk officer today, and Miranda Nelson is the spacewalk task officer. However, it is Jenny who is the one who is communicating directly with the crew, and that is the voice that you hear. Brandon Lloyd is the flight director. As in the Apollo days, the flight director has the utmost authority and responsibility for the success of the mission and the safety of the astronauts.
Woody, you are go.
Wing cap connector hard stop.
Copy.
The astronauts are working through mating those cables during our orbital nighttime.
And Steve, I heard a good connection, P7 alpha to panel P7. Is that correct?
We should be getting video views back in about 6 minutes.
Copy, Steve, and that's to connect our hard stop. You can now mate P7 alpha to panel P7 if not done already.
working the panel. And Jenny, I'm ready to move my cap.
Affirm, disconnect the wing tab connector cap from panel P23. You will be putting that connector cap on J23 alpha.
Okay, it's disconnected. We're moving it to J23 alpha.
Affirm, and I'll take checks on J23 alpha.
Okay. J23 alpha, no 5, no bent pins, and there's no EMI band on that side. The cap jams has a small black rubber insert. It kind of came dislodged when I pulled the cap off. I pushed it back into the cap to get in a good config for me to mate.
Affirm, Woody, you are go.
Okay, caps to hard stop. All right, P7, J7 alpha to the panel is complete. With good EMI band, well, good pins, and it's all the way to hard stop.
Copy, P7 alpha mated to panel P7. Steve, you can move on to disconnecting SAW cable P21 from panel P21.
SAW stands for Solar Array Wing.
P23 alpha to panel P23.
These are the cables on the solar array.
P21 connected from the panel. So far, good pins, and looks like a good EMI band.
Copy, Steve. You can mate J21 alpha to SAW cable P21.
Didn't work. And on P23 alpha, no 5, no bent pins, good EMI band.
Copy, Woody.
Wing tab connector, hard stop on panel 23.
Copy.
And I've checked all 4 wing tabs on the panel. Hard stop.
Copy. I'm tracking that is your last connection, Woody. All connectors are to hard stop. You can clean up any remaining cable slack as required.
Work.
NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg has completed connecting all of his cables.
P21 alpha to P21 is complete. Working the panel.
Copy, J21 alpha mated to SAW cable P21. Good checks and to connector hard stop. You can move on to connecting P21 alpha to panel P21.
Jenny Gibbons is following along a very detailed set of procedures for all of these tasks. She is speaking with the flight director right now.
Woody, you can translate to the ISS inboard side of the mod kit, and when you're ready, we'll take a glove inspection, hab check, and gauntlet check.
Copy all jams. Just cleaning up one bit, and then that'll be in work.
Copy.
With those cables successfully mated.
Getting the wire tie off of the connector here.
Correction, we're waiting on one more cable from NASA astronaut Steve Bowen.
On the middle strut. Now it's free. Good pins, beam my bend, no fraud.
Your go to mate, Steve.
Steve Bowen is working on his final cable while Woody Hoburg is translating to the next area of the work site.
Oh. All right, I've got the P21 Alpha at the peak to the panel, to the hard stop. That looks like a good mate.
Copy, Steve. I am tracking that is your last connector and the last connector that we need to complete during this eclipse. So well done, both of you. We still have 13 minutes of that working eclipse. You both did great. Steve, you can clean up the remaining slack in the cable as required.
Yep, we get my stuff disentangled from it.
NASA astronaut Steve Bowen will now tidy up any additional cable slack.
Side of the mod kit. And in terms of my gloves, no change and a dry hat. Gauntlets are down.
Copy, Woody. Good checks. And for you both, we just got video back.
Welcome back.
And we have our live video views back after we translated our data stream to in between satellites as the International Space Station orbits the Earth. NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg just conducted a glove, gauntlet, and HAP check. HAP is a helmet absorption pad. This is in the back of the helmet. The crew uses this to determine if there's any excess water in their helmet. All things looked good for Woody, and he is now...
I got 3 twists on 2 parts of that. I think the slack is picked up pretty well, just the bundle here. I think I'm complete.
Copy, Steve.
Sorry, let me know.
Steve, with that, I'll take a glove inspection, HAP check, and gauntlet check from you as well.
All right, let me get that to the...
Standby 1, Steve. We'll have you...
Okay.
Steve, we'll have you stay in this position for now.
Okay, back.
Basically, your next step is to get in a good position for viewing IROSA deploy. So wherever you think is best, it could be where you currently are, it could be on the mass canister handrail, it could be back on S6. We'll let you decide.
Oh, I understand now. Okay, let me look. More than a few short bit there. Okay, let me get down to a slightly better location, I think.
Copy. And we have, again, lots of time here, 10 more minutes of our working eclipse, and we need a check in insulation prior to deploy. So we have at least 10 minutes to get ready. And Steve, let's send you back to the blanket box to check that all the connectors are mated to hard stop. We are unaware of whether we might have bumped one out of position. If you already checked them, you could just let us know, and that's fine for us.
I did, but I'll go back and check. We got time.
We just didn't have video at the time, Steve.
They all look like they were the hard stop, including the ones that were already mated.
Mission control team is asking for a video visual on those cables.
Great config, Steve. Thank you for triple checking for us.
On those cables, just to make sure that everything looks good, being that we did not have video views during that mating process.
I can get to see things.
This is the helmet cam from NASA astronaut Steve Bowen. He is going to get in a good position to view the rollout of the solar array. He is looking at his teammate today, NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg. Woody Hoburg has the red stripe on his spacesuit today. He is EV1 and Steve is EV2. Once that solar array does start to unroll, it will take about 12 minutes for it to fully unfurl.
Okay, Kenny, do you have video? How does that look?
We do have video, and that looks great, Steve. Thank you.
Okay, I'll see if I can make myself stable here then.
Sounds good to us. When you're ready, I need a glove inspection, hap check, and gauntlet check.
All right, thanks. That half is dry. Gauntlets are down. White glove is good.
Can see NASA astronaut Steve Bowen conducting his glove check.
And left glove is good.
He is inspecting it for any unexpected damage. Everything looks good.
Woody and Steve, we're still waiting for a Spartan check down here. In the meantime, one warning for you. Prior to releasing the deployment launch restraint bolts, stay clear of the deploying iROSA blankets. In your current position, you will both be clear.
Copy, thanks, James. And I copy as well.
A little bit ago, you heard the call out for Spartan. That is a console position here in Mission Control Houston. Spartan stands for Station Power, Articulation, Thermal, and Analysis. They manage the external cooling system as well as power generation and distribution for the space station. Spartan will be monitoring the power generated by the array once it is being rolled out. The astronaut The astronauts have completed their tasks that were needed to mate the new cables during this working eclipse. They are waiting until orbital sunrise to actually start unfurling the solar array. We are expecting that to happen in about 5 minutes. Here is a graphic showing the location of where the astronauts are right now. They are on this IROSA, or International Space Station Roll-Out Solar Array 1B. On June 9th, this same duo, NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg and NASA astronaut Steve Bowen, installed and rolled out successfully the solar array on the 1A power channel.
Woody and Steve, we're still waiting for another 3 to 4 minutes until we're in insulation, but I have an updated PET for you. We are 4 hours into a 7-hour, 30-minute EVA with the limiting consumable being Woody's battery. Following our deploy steps, we have about 15 minutes of cleanup, which is faster than you were expecting based on your study time because of the get-aheads we did earlier. And the team is reassessing what we will be doing after that.
Thanks, James. Copy.
For your information, we are also looking into why our Shaw SS comm path didn't allow us to speak to you during that data LOS, made it into a full LOS for us. For your awareness, we have another one of those coming up where we should have Shaw SS, but we're going to try and address the problem before then. We might be handing over to Frank for that time if we need to.
Copy. Thanks, James.
Mission control team confirming that that expected loss of signal of video extended.
We don't have to worry about that potential LOS for a while. That's over an hour away.
Extended momentarily to unexpected also on the voice side. Our next planned loss of signal coming up in about an hour. The team should have voice with the astronauts for the majority of that loss of signal. We just won't have video views. We are just over 4 hours into today's spacewalk, and the crew has already worked ahead on additional tasks that were planned. NASA astronaut Steve Bowen, this is his 10th spacewalk today. And it is Woody Hoberg's second spacewalk. They launched together as part of the NASA Crew 6 mission. They arrived to the space station on March 3rd of 2023. For Bowen, after today being his 10th spacewalk, it will tie him for the most spacewalks by a U.S. astronaut. He will be then tied with Mike Lopez, Alegria, Bob Behnken, Peggy Whitson, and Chris Cassidy.
Woody and Steve, we're headed into insulation. Spartan will do their check shortly.
Great. And James, I'm going to have Alpha 1 counter 2 set.
We are heading into that orbital sunrise.
You should be in position for R9 and R10. Your settings are Bravo 7, counter 2.
My fault. All right, Bravo 7, counter 2, concur. Got it.
Good read back.
Next up, they will release the launch restraint bolts, which will allow the solar array to unroll. NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg working on those launch restraint bolts to release those. And this live view from NASA astronaut Steve Bowen's helmet camera. He has positioned himself to have a good view of that solar array unfurling. His next job is to observe these first set of magnets to make sure that they snap together during that initial deployment. There are magnets along the rim of the solar array that actually aids with helping it to unfurl. The team is waiting for a go from Spartan.
All right, Woody and Steve, we have the check that we need. So with that, we are go for deploy. Steve, you stay in position. Woody, you can release R9 and R10. The white line will appear when the bolts are fully released. Expect 17 to 20 turns each.
Okay, Jenny, I copy R9, R10, Bravo 7, counter 2 set. Starting turns on R9.
Good words.
NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg is utilizing his pistol grip tool, or his spacewalk drill, to loosen those restraint bolts.
Any bolt popped out at 1-6 turns. I see the white line visible.
Copy, white line visible at 1-6, 16 turns on R9. Go for R10.
Go for R10, starting turns.
This is the final bolt that needs to be released.
Turns on R10, gonna wiggle it.
Copy, your go.
Yeah, not coming out like the last one with a wiggle. Can I give it a few more turns, James?
Stand by one, Woody.
Yep, got it, hit the wiggle. Wiggle on its way.
Copy, we see it. Well done.
And with those restraint bolts released, you can see the solar array begin to unroll. It is aided by those magnets that snap together. This is the helmet camera view from NASA astronaut Steve Bowen. It will take about 12 minutes for the solar array to completely unfurl. A beautiful view with the Earth below. The International Space Station is approaching the coast of Hawaii.
There's 5 magnets on my side are faded.
Copy, Steve. We see that in your HECA as well. Thank you.
That's a firm flight.
NASA astronaut Steve Bowen confirming that he sees those magnets have properly engaged, with another confirmation from the flight control team here in Houston. He is going to remain in that position to keep a good visual on the solar array as it rolls out. About 2 years from the first IROSA unrolling is the 6th IROSA unrolling. Again, that first IROSA, or International Space Station Roll-Out Solar Array, was installed on June 16th of 2021.
Go.
Jenny, there's some white rectangles that pop out in the center of IROSA as it's rolling out, and it looks like maybe the 5th one up, the right-hand side one, did not fully pop over. should be able to see it in my HECA.
Copy, Woody. We are getting
right out to the middle of IROSA.
We are getting eyes on that. We appreciate the report. Would you be able to get a picture on your camera as well?
Of course.
Thank you. Woody and Steve, we're about halfway through deploy. We'll let you know when we can get moving again after deploy is complete.
Okay, Jenny.
After the solar array is deployed, the team will then proceed to tension it or make it be pulled tight. You can see the view here of a size comparison between the new solar array with the legacy array. When unrolled, the International Space Station Roll-Out Solar Array, the new one, will be 60 feet long by 20 feet wide, and the legacy ones are 112 feet long and 39 feet wide. To the left is the SSRMS, or the Space Station Remote Manipulator System, also known as the Canadarm2. It is a contribution from the Canadian Space Agency. It helps move supplies, equipment, and even astronauts during spacewalks like the one today. It is over 57 feet long when it is fully extended.
All right, Woody and Steve, we have about 2 minutes left of deploy, and I have big picture words ready for both of you.
Great, ready to copy.
Woody, you will be completing the tensioner bolt release and then doing worksite cleanup pretty much as written in the procedure. We'll have you get crew lock bag M, and then you'll be translating inboard, picking up your green hook along the way, and then working with SSRMS to retrieve the APFR. Following that, we'll have more information. Steve, you ready?
I'm ready to copy.
Steve, for you, following deploy, you are going to pick up the cable bag and put it on your BRT. You'll translate inboard, picking up your green hook on the way, and then we will have you at the CETA cart bundling that bag to crew lock bag T.
Understand.
BRT stands for Body Restraint Tether.
Or close to it, we'll have words on get-aheads.
Sounds good.
The 6th International Space Station Solar Array is completing.
Maybe I didn't notice it on the last deploy, but as we got to the end there, I noticed what looked like, it looked similar to me to what I saw when tensioning occurred on the last one. And a little pop. Magnets on your side weren't perfectly lined up before, but they are now.
Copy. And we think that that pop is normal.
Copy. Great.
Okay, with that, deploy is complete. So well done, both of you. Steve, you can translate to retrieve the cable bag. And Woody, sudden stops and quick grabs are still not allowed on the mod kit. And now you have a 25 foot-pound max lateral load on the mod kit, less than before, now that we have deployed. You can get in position for the tensioner bolts.
Copy, Jenny.
NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg will be releasing those tensioner bolts. That is going to pull the solar array tight. Meanwhile, NASA astronaut Steve Bowen is going to start with some cleanup activities.
And Woody and Steve, can either of you confirm that the magnets on the other side that Steve was not looking at have snapped together successfully?
They have. I can see them from here. All the magnets. The first 5 I can see clearly. The rest I watched at the end. They all snapped right into place at the very end. That was part of what that tensioning that Woody just mentioned was.
All right, thank you. We'll take that. That check is good for us. Steve, again, you're headed to the cable bag.
All right, don't get cable bag. And Jenny, I have Alpha 1, Counter 2 set. R11.
Good settings. You will be releasing these 5 to 6 turns. A white line will be visible when released.
Copy, starting turns.
NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg is turning those tensioner bolts. You can see movement on the solar array as it is pulled tight.
Steve, repeat your last.
I'm passing several cable clamps that are undone, and I could. The cables are fine.
Okay, Steve, we copy. You can close those if you want, but it's not required.
Okay.
As NASA astronaut Steve Bowen is translating to his new location, he saw some
Copy,
open.
R11, shorthand over.
open cable ties. The mission control team in Houston confirmed that he can close them, but it's just optional.
Jenny, you back?
Back with you, Woody.
Okay, I waited for you guys for R12, but I'm ready to start turns.
Here go.
Oh. Okay, Jenny, I saw the pop on the array at 3 turns. That was similar to what I saw on R11. I continued the bolt to your minimum 5 turns, and I have a white band visible.
Copy. The pop happened after 3 turns, but you got a total of 5. You see the white line.
Hey, firm.
All right, Woody, those are good bolts. You can verify that all the MLI on the mod kit is in place. No metal should be showing from the struts or collar bolts.
Sounds good. Looking.
Mission control team confirming that everything looks good on the rolled out solar array that has now been pulled tight thanks to tensioner bolts.
Okay, Jenny, I have sail back to my BRT on a ret. And I'm picking it up.
Copy, Steve. You have the cable bag on your BRT. You will be releasing it from structure and translating inboard, picking up your green hook on the way.
Copy.
And NASA astronaut Steve Bowen confirming that he has the tool bag on his body restraint tether. Here you can see a view of that.
We have one additional step before you head to the crew lock bag. We're interested in why that part of the center of IROSA that you reported didn't deploy nominally, and we're wondering if you can get us a view on the outboard side. It would be the back from your perspective previously of that portion of the array. We understand that's really challenging because you're on S6, but we'll take your best effort.
Okay, I'll see if I can do it. Jenny, do you have in my HECA this piece of MOI? Want me to put a wire tie on that, or?
Checking.
There's no metal exposed.
All right, Woody, if no metal is showing, you can leave it as is. Thank you.
Okay, copy that. I will try to get that view now.
We appreciate it. And if you are able to get a view, we'd also like a photo, please.
Gotcha. Try.
NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg is attempting to get a visual and a photo of an area during deploy that teams believe may have been abnormal.
Yeah, I see it perfectly. So, and I think what we're dealing with is on the backside of the array, there are some yellow foam strips, and it looks like that white rectangle is just caught on the edge of one of the yellow foam strips.
All right, we see it in your HECA. Thank you so much, Woody.
Okay, I'll get you some photos.
HECA is the helmet cam. That is the live view you are seeing right now.
We see you pulling out your camera, and we appreciate it. We will take some photos of that. Thank you, Woody.
Yeah, of course, no problem.
NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg is taking a photo for engineering analysis, but this issue is not expected to impact the performance of the solar array.
Okay, I think I got some good shots, James.
Great. Thank you, Woody. We appreciate it. Your next step is to release the scoop from the mounting bracket with the adjustable equipment tethers on it, and you'll be stowing that in the crew lock bag.
Happy. Okay, I have retrieved my green hook. Continuing my translation inboard.
Copy and concur, Steve.
Here you can see that tool bag. He is putting the scoop inside of the tool bag. And the scoop is a handling aid.
Steve?
I'm inboard the Sarge.
Copy, Steve. Let us know when you're on the port seat of cart.
Okay.
We are just over 4.5 hours. We are at 4 hours and 33 minutes into the 265th spacewalk out of the International Space Station in support of its assembly, maintenance, and upgrades. NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg and NASA astronaut Steve Bowen began the spacewalk this morning at 8:42 a.m. Eastern Time, 7:42 a.m. Central Time. After they exited the airlock, they released the solar array from its flight support equipment area. They then relocated it to the starboard truss at the 1B power supply. The team transported the solar array with the robotic arm called the Canada-2 arm. Woody Hoberg flew on that robotic arm with the solar array and then passed it off to Steve Bowen in a leapfrog maneuver to get it to its workstation. During that time, the team worked very efficiently and was well ahead of schedule, so the flight control team here in Houston made the decision for them to go ahead and work ahead on some items in the timeline while they waited for an eclipse, an orbital nighttime. That orbital nighttime was necessary as a safety measure in order to make sure there was no power, no sun reaching that solar array when they went to actually connect it to the space station. We successfully reached our orbital nighttime, and the team mated the solar array with the space station's power systems. After that, it successfully unfurled. And the flight control team is happy with the deployment of the solar array. The team is still well ahead of schedule and is now completing their additional cleanup activities. Because the astronauts are still ahead of schedule, the flight control team here in Houston is evaluating yet another potential work ahead for the team. They are both currently headed to the Port CETA cart. CETA stands for the Crew and Equipment Translation Aid. This is a cart, and it is on the port side of the space station.
Woody, once you have the crew lock bag on your BRT, your next step is to translate back inboard, but this is obviously the last time we will be at this work site today, so we want you to do a sanity check and a scan. Looks like you've been looking around anyway. Make sure we haven't forgotten anything.
All right, sounds great, Jenny. Stand by one.
He is connecting that tool bag to his BRT, or body restraint tether. The mission control team asked for one final visual of this workstation before they leave it for the day after a successful solar array deploy.
right, looking around. South connectors are mated, MOI looks good. Nice deployed IROSA. Got crew light bag 2 with me, and I'm leaving the APFR, Jenny, in with 31.
Affirm, that's right. And you should have crew lock bag M, but otherwise correct.
Thank you. Correction, yes. Crew light bag M is on my BRT.
Perfect, Woody. Wonderful job. You can clean up any sort of fair lead you might have out there because your next step is to translate inboard and pick up your green hook.
I'll do that. Thanks. All right, I have the cable bag. It is with the T bag. And throw them on the BRT.
Copy, Steve. We'll have you hold at the port CETA cart for now. I will take a glove inspection and a HAP check from you.
All right, let me get comfy. That's a good half is dry.
Copy your check, Steve.
NASA astronaut Steve Bowen just conducted a routine glove, gauntlet, and HAP check. HAP is the helmet absorption pad. This is a pad that's in the back of their helmet. They test to see if it's squishy or wet or has any water. Everything is good for NASA astronaut Steve Bowen. The crew has been conducting these checks throughout the spacewalk. We are currently 4 hours and 40 minutes into today's spacewalk and well ahead of schedule. Steve Bowen is waiting at that cart location for Woody Hoburg to join him shortly.
Copy, Woody. Continue your translation inboard. Once you are on the inboard side of the starboard CETA cart, we'll have you tap the brake pedals twice.
Copy all.
I have big picture words for both of you. Steve, you're stationary. Woody, you ready?
Yep, ready to copy, Jay.
All right, I just want to check in with you before we go further. We are 4 hours and 40 minutes or so into this EVA. You two have done a phenomenal job. You've already deployed IROSA, and our next steps really would be to sync up and then get after some get-aheads. Mainly, Steve, we would be sending you to the Z1 tool boxes in order to retrieve that Canon connector tool. How are you guys feeling?
Steve, how are you doing? Yeah, doing fine. I've been there before. Hopefully I don't pull a whole full tray out. Pretty good. I think it's in the door, actually. So. Oh, even better. Yeah.
We think that's a yes.
And is that the yes? Hey, Jenny, I'm doing great as well. So happy to keep going.
Okay, great.
Anything you guys need.
We're really glad to hear it. Again, you two have done a wonderful job. All right, so again, reminder, your next step, just because I see you're coming up to those CETA carts, Woody will take a double tap on the inboard side of the starboard CETA cart before you head under the MT, and then you'll sync up with Steve on the port CETA cart. You'll need to be further inboard than Steve in order to make our tether routing work. So once you get there, just make sure your tethers are deconflicted, and then you will actually pass Steve and continue your translation inboard.
All right, got it. And Jenny, do we want to clean up the tether config and get it back to the airlock as the staging, or we'll just deal with that later?
And Steve, we're going to be cleaning that up on our way back. We have more details for you soon.
Okay.
And yet another
Good double tap on the starboard CETA cart, inboard side.
Copy, Woody. Thank you.
and yet another work ahead task for the EVA 88 crew members. Mission control team asked them if they were up for it, and they pulled yes.
Let me get up above you, Woody. Yeah, let me take a look at the tether situation. Okay, so, yeah, Steve, that's a great spot. Thanks. Yep.
Woody, you are headed to the SSRMS cleanup position, which is at mile marker 6870.
6870.
Good words.
Thank you, Jenny.
The SSRMS stands for the Space Station Remote Manipulator System. That is the robotic arm that has been used on today's spacewalk to transport both Woody and the IROSA to its workstation.
All right, Steve, tethers look really good thanks to your excellent position there. All right. Thank you for getting by me. I'm getting there. Do you want this seated car brake as well, Jams? I'll get it.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Steve's the last one to leave that seat of cart, so you can just continue. Steve will get it later.
Okay, Steve, one sec. You just make sure I'm well clear of your tether. Yeah, I'm watching it. The way it leads. It'll clear here. Stand by. There we go. There's obviously a slight cross right here where they're anchored, but that should not be a factor. Yeah, I'll deal with that. Okay.
Houston's following along and agrees. All right, Woody is in a good position, clear of you, Steve, so you can translate to the anchor hooks, and we'll get you to double tap the inboard port seat cart brake pedals twice on your way.
All right. All right. Nick and Sultan, are you guys ready for a GCA? They're published.
Absolutely, Woody. We are ready for bringing the arm for the APFR removal position, and we are expecting station aft about 1 meter 70 centimeters.
That sounds perfect, Sultan. Go for station aft.
All right, starting motion.
Copy. And Jenny, I double tap this starboard. Seat curve brakes. Okay, the port, yeah. Port seat curve brakes.
Copy, Steve.
Woody, we see good motion.
Concur, Sultan. Good motion.
One meter to go.
Continue.
Copy, continue. Half a meter to go.
Continue.
Copy, continue. $20 to go.
Okay, you can hold position there.
Hold position.
Sultan, that looks great. CA complete.
Copy, GCA complete. Brakes are coming on, and you are go for APFR removal.
Copy, go. Thanks.
Woody, you'll be bundling crew lock bag M to the APFR and then stowing that bundle on your BRT.
Copy, Jenny. Thanks.
Steve and Woody, I have those big picture tether words when you're ready.
Ready to copy.
All right, so right now Woody's retrieving the APFR from the arm. Steve, you're going to stay at the anchor hooks, and Woody's going to translate back to the airlock, establish a good load path to the airlock, and Steve, I will talk you through picking up the anchor hooks. You'll head back to the airlock as well, and then establish your anchor hooks on the forward and aft external D-rings. So we will no longer be in a slingshot configuration. Your anchor hooks will be back at the airlock. And then, Steve, I'll send you to Z1 for the toolboxes. And Woody, you'll be going to ESP2 to drop off the APFR.
Okay, copy all, James.
Two different tasks coming up. NASA astronaut Steve Bowen is going to take charge on another work ahead item. He'll be heading to a toolbox to retrieve a connector tool for use on a future spacewalk. Meanwhile, NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg is going to be repositioning a foot restraint.
Okay, Jenny, ready to continue down to the airlock.
Copy. You can give Frank and Sultan a go to maneuver to the SSRMS park position and continue your translation.
Okay, let me just get on the other side here, and then I'll give them that go. Frank, Sultan, your go for park.
Woody, we copy, the brakes already off, and we are moving the arm right now.
Copy, go.
Woody, once you're at the airlock, you'll be stowing the crew lock bag there, and you can connect a waist tether to the airlock internal D-ring.
Okay, airlock internal D-ring. Does airlock D-ring extender work well, James?
Affirm.
Do we want something else?
Nope, that's fine. We just need a good load path to the airlock.
We have that waist tether. Got it. Remember, we have that waist tether already stationed there, so we can do this pretty easily. Yeah, copy, Steve, but I'm continuing later. Oh, that's true.
Steve, our arms in motion, happening to the go.
All right.
Steve, I can talk you through picking up the anchor hooks when the time is right. Not yet, but you can start by redding to Woody's anchor hook, which is on the zenith handrail 3247.
3247 zenith handrail. Okay.
The robotic arm is in motion. It is being operated by fellow crew members inside Emirati Space Agency astronaut Sultan Al Nayati and NASA astronaut Frank Rubio. Meanwhile, back at the airlock, you just saw the thermal cover being opened, and that is inside the Quest airlock. This is the crew lock portion of the airlock. This is live views from the helmet camera on Woody Hoberg's spacesuit.
I can confirm right waist cutter, gate closed, locked, black on black to the airlock D-ring extender. And I've double checked that small hook, also gate closed, locked, black on black to my right D-ring extender.
Copy, Woody. That's a good load pass to the airlock. So you can give Steve a go to put your anchor hook on his red reel.
Steve, you have a go.
All right. I've got a red Woody's anchor hook, taking his anchor hook going to my red reel.
Good words.
All right, gate closed, final lock. Woody's anchor hook is to my red reel. Reel is unlocked.
Copy, Steve. That is a good config. You now have a good load path back to the airlock. You can retrieve your anchor hook from handrail 3246 and stow it on your mini workstation.
Handrail 3246. My hook coming off to my mini workstation. All right, that's complete.
Copy,
Take
Steve.
the rep back off.
Copy. You can translate to the airlock.
Relock bag M stowed in the airlock.
Copy, Woody.
The tool bag is successfully inside of the airlock. The astronauts will be taking that back inside with them today.
Woody, when you're ready, I'll take a glove inspection and hap check.
All right, starting my translation back.
He is performing another routine inspection of his gloves, the piece of fabric that is just above the gloves called the gauntlet, and then that helmet absorption pad located inside of his helmet.
Woody and Steve, we're working on our comm configuration for the next data LOS. I'm going to perform a comm check on Shah SS now.
Copy, Jim.
Red NowThis Earth.
Comm check on Shah SS.
Jams loud and clear. Help me.
Do you guys have to be loud and clear?
Okay. And we do have an echo.
Because you have an echo, if it becomes unusable, let us know.
Copy.
And NASA astronaut Steve Bowen is confirmed to do that work ahead item of retrieving that tool from a toolbox. This is live video views from NASA astronaut Steve Bowen's helmet camera as he works to retrieve that tool.
All right.
Now that you're back at the airlock, you can place your anchor hook on the forward external airlock ceiling.
I hook to the forward external view ring. Okay, stand by. I want to get myself stable.
And we are in an expected loss of signal right now.
All right, my gate closed, flight locked on the forward key ring. And my
that's a good load path for you, Steve. You can place Woody's anchor hook on the aft external airlock ceiling.
and he's got it in hand, and he'll take care of that. I knew that would be tight. Here, let me hold that. There you go. All right, yellow hook, gate close, line lock, you unlock. Hook, gate close, line lock. Woody's anchor hook is gate code slider lock on the aft view ring. Rails are unlocked.
All right, that's a good load path for both of you. Woody, you can release the waste cutter from the airlock when you're ready. And Steve, at this time, you can still break the cable bag and clean up those down in the airlock.
Yep, I like to go stow these two bags. You want them on the locker, or do you want me to put them in the airlock?
You can stow both bags inside of the airlock.
All right, going inside the airlock.
You can see NASA astronaut Steve Bowen released that tether, and he is now going inside of the airlock.
And Jenny, confirm I'm headed out to ESP2 with the APFR.
Mr. Woody will be translating around the starboard edge to the forward side of the ESP2.
Copy. Starboard edge, forward side. Steve, our tethers look clear. I'm heading out. Sounds good. I'm going to get the bags off the BRT.
We are in an expected loss of signal for our video views, but the team does still have audio connection with the crew. This is live views of Mission Control Houston, where the team is awaiting updates on NASA astronaut Steve Bowen's work ahead task to retrieve a tool from a toolbox.
And I have them on the airlock ret. My BRT ret. Alright, they're stowed inside. Okay, let me get up there. Jenny, I'm at width 4. Okay, I'm at width 5. I see it right next to me.
NASA astronaut Steve Bowen is making his way to the toolbox with navigational help from Mission Control here in Houston.
Still that close. That's... Alright, leaving.
And with our expected loss of signal,
Clocking 6. Locking collar, black on black, good pull twist test. Switch knob block can be depressed. Current setting 6. Papa Papa, box 6.
NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg is installing that foot restraint system in a new area and is calling out that status to the mission control team.
Steve, did you copy that? Nope, I do not hear. My location is on top of the crew lock.
Avoid inadvertent contact with the CNG covers and shell. Without surfaces, we have known environmental strike, and the toolbox does not meet crew translation mode while it is open.
Understand. Box is not for translation. And I am at the IAPFR and bit ingress.
Confirmation from mission control team that NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg is good to remain in the airlock with the thermal cover closed, while NASA astronaut Steve Bowen completes this final work ahead task of retrieving that tool from the Z1 toolbox.
Yep, and up top of Z1. And Jenny, confirm you're good with the APFR install?
You can retrieve crew upside down and store it on the 0 team. The selection that's already at the airlock, you can translate back to the airlock.
Okay, there we go, in work.
We are now in an expected loss of signal for both video and audio feeds. We'll take this time to recap where we are in today's spacewalk, EVA 88, with NASA astronauts Woody Hoburg and Steve Bowen. Today's spacewalking team is NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg and NASA astronaut Steve Bowen. For Hoburg, this is his second spacewalk, and for Bowen, this is his 10th spacewalk. He is now tied for the most spacewalks. This is Steve Bowen. He is now tied for the most spacewalks by a U.S. astronaut. He is now tied with Mike Lopez Alegria, Bob Behnken, Peggy Whitson, and Chris Cassidy. This duo here also installed another IROSA on June 9th. Today's spacewalk is the 265th spacewalk aboard the International Space Station in support of its assembly, maintenance, and upgrades. It's the 8th Space Station spacewalk in 2023 and the 6th for the Expedition 69 crew members. We are just over 5 hours in our spacewalk, just at 5 hours and 13 minutes. We began this morning at 8:42 a.m. Eastern Time, 7:42 a.m. Central Time. That marked the moment where astronauts Woody Hoburg and Steve Bowen switched on to battery power. This is the 6th solar array to be successfully installed, the new solar array to be successfully installed aboard the space station. Timeline of events today: after the astronauts exited the airlock, they proceeded to the flight support equipment area. This was the area where the solar arrays were delivered to. They arrived to the space station on the SpaceX Commercial Resupply Service mission number 28. That was on June 5th. Today, the astronauts released the solar array from that flight support equipment area, and then NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg took hand of it He attached himself to the robotic arm and had the solar array in hand. Inside the International Space Station was Emirati Space Agency astronaut Sultan Al-Nayati. He actually controlled the robotic arm and moved NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg with the solar array close to its workstation at the 1B power supply on the starboard 6 truss of the space station. NASA astronaut Steve Bowen met him there, and they used a leapfrog maneuver of passing the solar array between each other to get it to that final spot. From there, the team released hinge bolts and installed it on the mounting bracket. The team made excellent time, and it was decided by the flight control team here in Houston for them to go ahead and proceed with some work ahead tasks that were already planned in the timeline. They did this while they were waiting for a orbital nighttime in order to make sure that there was no power flowing to the solar array when they connected it to the station.
Welcome back, Jenny. Okay, Jenny, I've got 2 Canon connector tools. Is there a preference?
We only need one of those 2 cable connector tools, Canon connector tools, excuse me, and there is no preference on which one you take.
Okay. Check release. It's been ready to my workstation via RET. And I'm closing the doors again.
Copy.
The team successfully connected the new solar array to the space station and then successfully deployed it, with the mission control team happy with the array's deployment. After cleaning up their work site, there was then time for yet an additional work ahead task.
Doors shut.
Copy, Steve.
My wait center.
NASA astronaut Steve Bowen is currently completing that task. It was to retrieve a tool from a toolbox. Meanwhile, NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg is waiting in the airlock. Waiting inside the airlock.
Copy, Steve.
Correction, he is not inside, he is beside it.
Steve, can you verify you closed at least one of those door latches?
Both closed.
Copy.
I closed both latches.
That's great. Thank you, Steve. You can translate back to the airlock.
Back.
And with confirming that that toolbox is secure, NASA astronaut Steve Bowen is on his way back to the airlock to meet NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg. It is dark out right now because we are in an orbital nighttime. The International Space Station orbits the Earth every 90 minutes, providing the crew with 45 minutes of daytime and 45 minutes of nighttime. Together, they see about 16 sunsets and sunrises each day. Retrieving this tool is the final task on today's spacewalk. Once NASA astronaut Steve Bowen returns back to the airlock, the team will ingress back into the space station.
All right, Woody, I'm back. Welcome back, Steve.
Steve, you can ingress the airlock and hook up a waist tether
All right.
to the airlock internal Z-ring
Ingress in the airlock.
or extender.
And Steve, I've already got that double waist tether down for myself. Excellent. And your waist tether is D-ring extender. Great.
NASA astronaut Steve Bowen is back inside the airlock. He is tethering himself to it. NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg is following shortly. He will also close the hatch thermal cover behind him.
Copy, Steve. We're going to be using that as our primary load path to clean up our tethers outside. This is different than the way the procedure was written because we've done a reconfig. Steve, once you have confirmed that you have a good load path to the airlock, so Woody, my next steps are for you.
Okay, Johnny, ready to copy.
Woody, you can attach the anchor hook on the forward D-ring and attach it to your waist tether.
Okay, so Steve, you're safe, right? I am safe. All right, picking up your anchor hook.
Affirm.
Okay, Jenny, I'm sending the airlock waist tether back inside. On my right waist tether, I have Steve's anchor hook. Those locked black on black, both hooks.
All right, Woody, that is a good load path to Steve and to the airlock, so you can take your anchor hook, which is on the aft external D-ring, and stow it on your mini workstation.
All right, Jenny, I concur. It works. And Jenny, that is complete.
Copy, Woody. Ingress the airlock.
NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg successfully reorganized his tethers, and he is now entering the airlock. After that hatch thermal cover is in place and the hard shell hatch has been secured, our repressurization process will occur of the crew lock. On the other side of the crew lock is the equipment lock. All of this is together part of the airlock, but on the other side, our NASA astronaut Frank Rubio.
Coming toward me. Just gonna wait for it. Excellent. I gave it a nice kick. Good job. Okay.
Woody and Steve,
And
you can
the
turn both of
thermal
your
hatch
copy,
cover
thermal
is
cover closed. Turn
is
off
closed.
both of your HECAs.
Complete for Woody. Complete for Steve.
The crew has now
Woody, attach the hook to the magnetic plate D-ring, cinch the strap.
The crew has now turned off their helmet cameras. This is part of the normal procedure during the repressurization process.
Okay, that is snug with 7 lines visible.
Copy, Woody. Check the thermal cover magnet is engaged.
It is engaged.
All right, you can both remove your SCUs from their stowage pouches, remove your DCM covers and Velcro to your DCM, and connect to your SCUs.
Okay. Steve, I might need a little more room for the hatch eventually. That's all right. I can, once I get the SCU on, I'll twist away. Okay. All right, SCU installed, EV2.
Copy, Steve.
All right, let me get myself down and in. That might help a little bit, Woody. 1 sec. All right, Jenny, EV1 SCU installed. Awesome. And yeah, Steve, that's awesome. Thank you.
Copy all. Switch water off, forward. Expect H2O is off message.
EV1 water off.
The astronauts are turning the water off on their spacesuit. The hatch thermal cover is in place.
Copy. We have a 2-minute timer set. Caution, do not close the hatch until EMU water is off for 2 minutes. I want to take this opportunity to say congratulations to the entire on-orbit and ground team. You performed phenomenally today. At the end of this series, we have 2 deployed IROSAs, some newly certified, I would say, onboard IVs. Woody, congratulations on your 2nd spacewalk. And Steve, congratulations on your 10th. With this spacewalk, you have tied the American spacewalking record, and we are very happy to be a part of this for both of you. Congratulations.
Jenny, thanks so much. That was an amazing experience. It's amazing to be out here for Steve's record-tying spacewalk. And kudos to Frank, Sultan, and the whole ground team for all their hard work, preparation that went into this. You guys did an awesome job.
some kind words between NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg and Jenny City Gibbons, who was the spacewalk communicator with the crew today.
Okay, that gives me time. Houston, station on 1 for next move.
Test time.
Okay. I'd like to move King to Bravo 2, King to B2, Spartan to move. Congrats on the new array.
Getting a well played down here. Thank you both. All right, our 2-minute timer is complete, not a moment too soon. Verify that the handle is in a position per the hatch decal. Verify the outer hatch is clear of hardware, and close and lock the hatch.
As the hatch is closing, you heard a tradition between the flight control team here in Houston and the astronauts on board the International Space Station. There is an ongoing game of chess that is played.
Area is clear of hardware.
Every day they each make a move on that chess game.
Closing the hatch.
Copy.
DB hatch closed and locked.
Copy. Hatch closed and locked. On the UIA, oxygen.
Although the hatch is closed and locked, the spacewalk timer will continue to run until that repressurization begins.
Switch power, EV1 and 2, both to on.
EV1 is on, EV2 is on, 18.6 volts and 0 amps on 1, 18.6 volts and 0.02 on 2.
Copy all, Steve. On your DCMs, switch power to SCU. Expect a warning tone.
Once the crew lock is completely repressurized, the astronauts on the other side of the Quest airlock will bring our spacewalkers from the crew lock portion into the equipment lock. They will help them doff their suits, and their safers will also be removed.
Copy all. With that, I will hand you back to your very capable suit IVs.
The safer is the simplified aid for EVA rescue. We can discuss that further once we get to that point in the doffing process.
All right, we copy, Jenny. Thanks so much for today's work. And Woody, Steve, welcome back. Let's bring you in. So both of you on the DCM, let's switch O2 actuator to press and verify O2 actuator press.
EV2's in press. EV1's in press.
Right, copy. Both of you are on press. And then Woody, check EV hatch MPEV closed.
EV hatch MPEV is closed.
All right, next I'm going to actuate the IV hatch equalization valve, and you just tell me how comfortable is the rate.
Copy.
How's that going?
Steve, how is it for you? I'm good with it. I'm good as well, Sultan. Feels great.
Our official end time for today's spacewalk is 2:17 p.m. Eastern Time, 1:17 p.m. Central Time, for a total duration of 5 hours and 35 minutes.
Yes, Steve, we'll pull up at 4, expecting alert on.
Copy.
You are hearing the noise of the repressurization process.
Okay, we're going to hold here for 2 minutes for the pressure to stabilize.
The crew lock portion of the airlock is currently at about 5.1 psi, and we are going to hold here for it to stabilize. The crew will now perform leak checks to make sure that that portion of the airlock is stable. You are seeing Emirati Space Agency astronaut Sultan Al Nayati on the equipment lock portion of the airlock. On the other side of that hatch are our spacewalkers.
Okay, Woody and Steve, Check switch glove heaters are both off.
Glove heaters off, EV1. Off, EV2.
And check if you have any contaminations on those gloves and report to Houston.
Negative contamination. No contamination, EV2.
The negative contamination. So on the DCM, take auto actuator to IV.
Auto actuator IV, EV2. And IV for EV1.
Copy EV1 and 2, auto actuator to IV. We'll start or continue the repress.
Sounds great.
Those leak checks were successful. You are hearing the sound of that repressurization process continuing. We are approaching 10 psi. The goal is to reach about equal with the equipment lock and the rest of the space station, which is at around 14.7 psi. .1 psi.
Stephen Woody, when the pressure is equivalent to 0, expect an alert on.
Copy. Copy, Sultan.
The 265th spacewalk in support of the International Space Station's assembly, maintenance, and upgrades is complete. This was the 8th spacewalk out of the International Space Station this year and the 6th for the Expedition 69 crew. Cumulatively, all spacewalks in support of the International Space Station have now totaled 1,683 hours and 27 minutes. That's equivalent to about 70 days, 3 hours and 27 minutes of straight spacewalking. Today's spacewalk was the second of NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg's career. He has now accumulated 11 hours and 38 minutes of spacewalking. It was the 10th spacewalk of NASA astronaut Steve Bowen's career. He has now accumulated a total of 65 hours and 57 minutes of spacewalking.
And Houston airlock for step 4.
This has put him as the third all-time aggregate of spacewalking time. Today's spacewalk.
And IV hydrochloride valve will be set to off. Just confirming the audio configuration here.
Copy, Sultan. I'll let you know when you guys go cold, Mike.
The repressurization process is complete and the hatch is open. NASA astronaut Steve Bowen is entering first into that equipment lock area, being greeted by his fellow Expedition 69 crewmates. On the right, you see NASA astronaut Frank Rubio, and at the bottom is Emirati Space Agency astronaut Sultan Al Nayati. Rubio and Al Nayati will assist our spacewalkers back into this equipment lock, and then they will help them start to take off their EMUs. EMU stands for Extravehicular Activity Mobility Unit. These spacesuits have served as essentially a personal spacecraft for the spacewalkers while they were outside the space station in the vacuum of space. They have just taken off the SAFER unit from NASA astronaut Steve Bowen.
And Station Houston, just want to let you know we have reconfigured comms. EV crew is no longer hot mic.
SAFER stands for Simplified Aid for EVA Rescue. This is not their life support unit. That is a different backpack on the spacesuit. SAFER is essentially a life jacket for spacewalks. It has small thrusters that the astronaut could use in the unlikely event that they become untethered from the space station. And this is a live view from the mission control team here in Houston after a very successful spacewalk that ended ahead of schedule and with numerous additional tasks completed. NASA astronaut Steve Bowen is safely secured to the side of the equipment lock. He is waiting on now his crewmate, NASA astronaut Woody Hoburg, to be retrieved from the crew lock. He is being pulled now into the equipment lock. Both the equipment lock and the crew lock are a part of the airlock. They are in the Quest airlock. The other airlock on board the International Space Station is called the Poisk airlock. That safer unit is being removed from NASA astronaut Woody Hoberg.
Step 130.
NASA astronaut Frank Rubio making sure that Woody Hoberg is secure on that equipment lock wall. NASA astronaut Frank Rubio and Emirati Space Agency astronaut Sultan Al Nayati are now assisting with removing the gloves from the spacewalkers. After they remove the gloves, they will move on to removing helmets. Once those helmets are off, we will wrap our coverage for today. And with helmets off and our crew safely back inside, we will wrap up our coverage for today. We have some milestones to go over with you. This was the United States EVA 88. Our start time this morning was 8:42 a.m. Eastern Time, 7:42 a.m. Central Time, with an end time of 2:17 p.m. Eastern Time, 1:17 p.m. Central Time, for a total spacewalking time of 5 hours and 35 minutes. NASA astronauts Woody Hoburg and Steve Bowen successfully installed the 6th International Space Station Roll-Out Solar Array to augment power generation for the 1B power channel on the station's starboard 6 truss structure. Today's installation of the 6 IROSA is only 1 day shy of the 2-year anniversary of the first IROSA installation that happened on June 16th, 2021. Our next spacewalk is going to be a Russian EVA number 59. That is going to take place on Thursday, June 22nd. Roscosmos cosmonauts Sergei Prokopyev and Dmitry Petelin will be participating in that spacewalk. You can tune in next week at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time, 8:45 a.m. Central Time. That is when our coverage will start. The spacewalk will begin at 10:20 a.m. Eastern Time, 9:20 a.m. Central Time. With that, thank you for joining us. This is Mission Control Houston.